uneducated is a disgrace to the family. Please leave.
My brother's mother-in-law abruptly tries to make me leave his wedding. He's a doctor working at his father-in-law's hospital, but I should have nothing to do with it. Trying to kick me out based on my education is ludicrous. I have a decent job now, and there's a legitimate reason I didn't go to high school. Regardless, getting into a discussion with her during this festive occasion would likely lead to a heated argument and spoil the mood. As I stand up to leave the hall, someone walks up to her. It's the groom, my brother.
Hold on! It's just Torsen. Don't you know what she does for work?
Then,
Little did she know that the shocking turn of events was awaiting her. I'm Mandy, 33 years old. I do freelance work. It's pretty hectic, not only on the domestic front, but also with frequent trips abroad directed by my office. My parents passed away one after another 10 years ago due to illness. I have an older brother, a doctor, who is 7 years older than me and is my only family.
The other day, I received a call from him.
Hey Scott, it's been a while. What's happened? What's up? Is everything okay? That's why, as material, I'm getting married.
Oh my god! I checked you! Finally, you've been gay! As getting situation! Congratulations, Crash Bajarable!
He's been single until now at 40, so I thought he would never get married. I couldn't be happier with this great news.
I wanted to wait for you to get married first, but I vowed to keep my partner waiting.
Oh, come on! If you wait for me, you'll never get your two-third.
Don't say that! Been someone nice and geese of mine.
Yes, yeah, they did over under your partners live envy. Well, in time, I choose for invasious.
His fiancée is the daughter of the director at the hospital where he works. Her name is Misha, and she also works there as a receptionist. They obviously met at work and have been together for a long time.
By the way, her sister went to the same middle school as you. Yes, you...
Wow, what a coincidence. But she was just in the same class.
Brian! What's his name? My name is Allison. We name is Allison.
Wait, what's the snake citrus? Allison, and these carrots working is?
That's wrong.
No, nothing. No, nothing can. I'm looking forward to meeting Missa.
There's a reason why I was agitated when I heard Allison's name. When I was young, I had a serious illness and was often absent from school. Allison was the one who frequently picked on me, saying, always skipping school and sickly Mandy. I had a heart condition which kept getting worse, and by the time I was in the 8th grade, I could hardly go to school. When I made it occasionally, Allison spotted me in the hallway right away and yelled, "Peculiar one's here today. Do you skip out and play video games or something? I bet you can't move up to high school." She enjoyed bullying me. I didn't dislike school, but I dreaded seeing her. I never expected someone I despised would be a relative. Well, we're over 30 now, so maybe she's changed. I sure hope so. Anyway, back to my illness. I ended up not going to high school after all. I was bedridden in the hospital so as not to strain my heart for a long time. The only way to save my life was to have major heart surgery, which was a dangerous operation, and no one was willing to take it on. At that time, Scott, who had aspired to become a doctor, found a great surgeon for me. Dr. Walker was called the God's hands of cardiovascular surgery. My encounter with him would change my life. It was a major surgery that resulted in great success, and at the age of 19, I finally had a healthy body. Thank you, Dr. Walker. I was beaming with a sense of relief and full of expectations for my future. You must have a lot of things you couldn't do before. Go grab your dreams now, he gently encouraged me. And here I am. Anyway, a few days after I received the news of Scott's marriage, he called again and invited me to dinner with Misha's family. I wasn't particularly thrilled at the idea of seeing Allison, but I had no choice but to comply for his sake. Now that her parents are gone, I'm the only family he has left. On the day of the dinner, I went to a fancy restaurant in the city. There were 3 participants on the bride's side, her mother and Allison. Her father had an urgent job, so he was absent. On the groom's side were Scott and myself. We arrived at the restaurant first and waited anxiously.
Mandy, have you met her mother and Allison before?
Our mom's a laboratory technician, so she's my colleague. Ask me accentuation. My spot. She's a very hard worker. Allison supposedly juggles part-time jobs. I've never met her before.
While we were chit-chatting, Misha showed up.
Sorry to keep you waiting. We just got here a little while ago.
We just got here a little while ago.
I'm Mandy. And nice to meet you. I've been looking forward to this.
Nice to meet you too. I'm Misha.
Scott's been telling me a lot about you. He's very proud of you. I'm really happy that you can make it tonight.
Misha was a slender and beautiful woman and seemed down to earth. After marine placements, she was cheerful and well-spoken. I thought she was perfect for Scott, who is a bit shy and reserved. She religiously watched Grey's Anatomy, and we hit it off right away, sharing the same interests. I was happy that we seemed to get along well when her mother and Allison showed up. Her mother was a dashing woman with a sharp manner, probably because she was still active in her career.
Nice meeting you, Mandy. I'm Catherine. I heard you and Allison went to school together. I've heard a lot about you.
I thought it must have been nothing good coming from her. I had a bad feeling.
It's been a long time, Mandy. How has you been?
Long time no see. I'm right now. I've recovered completely.
She seemed more mature and didn't make snarky remarks like she used to in middle school. Instead, she had a bright and cheerful vibe. I breathed a sigh of relief, confident that things would go well somehow. Being a fancy restaurant and all, the food was excellent, the ingredients and seasoning were perfect, and we enjoyed the food and conversation. Scott and Misha had been together for a long time, so they were in sync and looked perfect together. After dinner, they left the table to enjoy the restaurant's garden. Once they were gone, Allison changed drastically.
Are you still doing nothing at home?
Why? About the other about much caro. I have a job, you know?
Filthy! You didn't even go to high school!
Apparently people's personalities don't change that much as they grow up. My previously pleasant mood was instantly shattered. Still, I wanted to clear up the misunderstanding, so I tried to explain.
I couldn't go to high school because I was sick, but I'm working now.
Dump! I bet your job's nothing special. Base I ram sadodai. It's your habit to skip responsibilities after all. Burst re-trims.
Ease? Why? But which is what?
I hoped Catherine, who had been listening quietly, would come to my rescue, but she was even worse.
Everyone in our family has a college degree. Scott is very welcome, as he graduated from medical school and became a doctor, but you are...
Are you trying to say I'm not worthy of being your relative?
Well, you didn't go to high school, so your education is up until middle school, right? That's incredibly shameful, and I want nothing to do with someone who has a bad habit of slacking.
I never been like that, though. Air.
That's what all slackers say. In my book, Just Knowing Your Brother's a Doctor, and you didn't finish high school says a lot about who you are. Well, don't even attend the wedding. We can't have an uneducated person as one of our relatives.
She was also someone who judged people based on their educational background. Everyone has their own circumstances, and no one should look down on someone by their level of education. However, she didn't seem to be able to accept that kind of logic and judged me as unworthy. Let's see, on a crunter of it, her sarcasms were terrible. Allison was just like her mother.
That's all due respect, I
was about to argue when Scott and Misha returned to their seats. I bit my tongue. I didn't want to spoil Scott's special day with unnecessary arguments.
Being dies the joke. What's wrong, Mandy? You look pale.
Oh no. Maybe we wore you out. Are you feeling alright?
Those two were so sweet. I tried my best to change my mood.
I'm great. I'm tired. That was too good. So I got greedy and ate too much, you know? I'm really enjoying myself today.
Akron and Allison were quiet. They seemed to be intent on hiding their true nature from Scott and put on a fake smile to cover up. But the look in both of their eyes towards me was icy. I managed the situation, but I felt uneasy thinking about the future family gatherings. I overcame my illness and achieved my dream. Well, at least Misha was a good person. Well, her father wasn't there. I'd met him through work. He was a gentle and kind man. Misha must have taken after him. Time flew by, and before I knew it, the day of Scott's wedding arrived. Of course I attended. It was my dear brother's big day. I expected to be criticized by Allison and Catherine. Of course I attended. It was my dear brother's big day. I expected to be criticized by Allison and Catherine, but I was determined not to let it bother me. The wedding was filled with many hospital staff in attendance, making it a grand ceremony. Scott looked handsome, and Misha was breathtakingly stunning in her wedding dress. The simple design and the silky sheen exuded elegance, perfectly complementing her beauty.
I got Misha and Scott.
I was more than ecstatic to see his happy smile. The ceremony went smoothly, and everyone moved directly to the reception. The entertainment kicked off, creating a fun vibe. When I glanced at the bride's family, Catherine and Allison were enthusiastically drinking. Catherine looked already drunk with a bright red face. I hadn't seen the bride's mother so drunk at the wedding before, and I felt a bit uneasy about it. My hunch turned out to be spot on. Catherine approached one of the guests giving a speech and snagged the microphone from him. Then she started talking. Allison was standing right next to her.
Thank you all for gathering here today for Misha and Scott. It's great to be surrounded by people with excellent education and status.
I was impressed that she could speak so well for being so drunk. Right after that, she started saying something that made me doubt my ears.
But there's someone here who doesn't quite fit in.
That's right. It's Mandy, the groom's sister. Their thrift pretty offers. She's a lazy slacker with a habit of skipping out. Hooray, Britiber versus Abim Iris. Hey, believe it or not, she didn't even go to high school.
She's a disgrace to the family. Please leave.
The hall was abuzz, and all eyes were on me at once. My face must have turned beet red. The hall was abuzz, and all eyes were on me at once. My face must have turned beet red. I was so embarrassed and ashamed. It was my brother's wedding, and they wanted to kick me out. Trying to boot me based on my education? It was so low. Besides, that information was incorrect. But not wanting to ruin Scott's big day, I stood up to leave when someone walked over to Catherine. It was Scott.
Hold on! Has to know what she does for work.
Huh.
Allison exclaimed next to Catherine.
Go rest and ski. I know, I think that's a dance. He's a part-teamer. She's uneducated, so she can only work at bottom-tier jobs, right?
Then another person rushed to the scene. It was Misha's father, Dr. Sheldon.
You guys, shame on you. Do you have an idea what you've done?
You would be ashamed to have an uneducated person as one of your relatives, wouldn't you?
You wouldn't. You're grown. The Dr. Herman, a parapatic surgeon, well-respected in cardiovascular federation. Hospitals all over the world want her skills.
What?
It's got its connections. She's supposed to perform surgery at her place soon, so my tolerable is all booked up. And if she declines now, we'll be in big trouble.
Oh wait, because Allison said Mandy didn't go to high school.
Allison stood there in shock, her face pale. It's true that I couldn't attend high school because of an illness.
However, thanks to Dr. Walker, I recovered. Wanting to help people struggling with illness, I aspired to become a doctor. Despite not being able to go to high school, I studied hard and got a GED. I even got into a prestigious medical school and passed the medical licensing exam. After that, I trained under Dr. Walker and became recognized as a skilled cardiovascular surgeon. I received enthusiastic requests from Dr. Sheldon, the director of the hospital where Scott worked, and I was to perform surgery in the coming days.
This Dr. First Pan, please forgive my wife and Allison for their rudeness. I'm really sorry.
Dr. Sheldon apologized frantically while Catherine and Allison stood dumbfounded beside him.
Eyes, come on, man. Apologize to her. To Charlotte. Absolutely.
The two of them reluctantly muttered apologies, but they bit their lips, looking frustrated.
It's Dr. Sheldon. Please stop apologizing. Brish,
Then, will you let this slide?
just give me some time to think. I work at your hospital. I'll inevitably bump into them. Is she thriery? Mayring. Because to be honest, I feel uncomfortable section. Must.
I wanted to keep it separate from work, but seeing them would bring back bad memories. Cardiovascular surgery requires a lot of concentration, and any unnecessary evil thoughts would make me lose control. They could cost the life of an important patient.
I think don't worry. To this cab come, done had for good. I can leave my wife shortly.
Hearing that, Catherine's eyes almost popped out of her head. She seemed to have sobered up at once.
What are you talking about all of a sudden? How could you leave me?
Do you think I don't know anything?
The story was shocking. Catherine, being the wife of the director, threw her weight around, and her high-handed behavior was pretty noticeable. It led to problems, with staff becoming mentally stressed or quitting after becoming targets of her abuse. Not only that, she was enjoying a self-indulgent life by frequenting bars and keeping young guys as lovers. He finally lost patience with her. Allison was assisting her mother in her escapades. She didn't have a regular job. She just lived off an allowance from Catherine while goofing around. Dr. Sheldon had decided to get rid of them. If that was the case, I didn't need to worry about it. The other guests were holding their breath, listening to the exchanges. In the end, they understood who was at fault, and a murmur of voices started to ripple through the crowd.
Wow, that's terrible. Sick mother and daughter causing trouble together at the hospital.
They're the ones who should leave.
Everyone was looking at Catherine and Allison with disdain. They couldn't stand it any longer and fled the venue. The shoot reception continued with those who remained, and I was relieved to find that the atmosphere went back to warm and welcoming.
I'm sorry, Mandy. I didn't realize sooner. Why am us right this race?
I'm so sorry. Mom and Allison said terrible things to you. You deserved none of it.
I'm sorry, too, for that to happen at your wedding. I just want you guys to be happy.
I was certain the three of us would have a good relationship going forward. After that, Dr. Sheldon filed for a divorce and separated from Catherine. She was also fired from her job at the hospital. Dr. Sheldon refused to give her more than what was stated in the prenup. Allison was also cut off by him. According to the rumor, they are living in a modest house and working part-time jobs to make ends meet. Catherine was dumped by her lovers as soon as her wealth was gone. I continue to work as a surgeon. I'm now working hard with Scott at Dr. Sheldon's hospital to help those who are suffering from serious illnesses. Recently, I hit it off with Scott's colleague, and we've been flirting a little. I'm feeling a happy premonition these days,